WCTCAM.com. Jersey moves fast. Join the show that keeps you one step ahead. Jersey Central with Burt Barron on the new Talk Radio 1450 WCTC.
It is 7:38. We are back on Jersey Central on the new Talk Radio 1450 WCTC, the voice of Central Jersey. Good morning to you. It's Burt. We got your chance to win that family 4-pack of tickets to see the Somerset Patriots. We're going to do that sometime between now and 8 o'clock is when you'll hear the voice of Manager Emeritus Sparky Lyle. Be the 14th caller when you hear the voice of Sparky. You'll get 4 tickets for the game on Tuesday night. It's a 7:05 game against the Long Island Ducks, so listen in for your chance to win. A couple of weeks ago, a really tragic situation in Hamilton, New Jersey that involved the collapse of a home. And unfortunately, there were deadly results. One of the people inside the home, unfortunately, was killed. And it was determined by engineers that the reason for this house collapse, long-term water exposure and seepage. And I was thinking to myself, how the heck does something like that happen? So I have a guest who's with me now on the Miller Lite Jersey Central Newsmaker hotline. He is one of our WCTC weekend talk show hosts. And if you're a fan of the program, as I am, called At Home with Gary Sullivan, and you know that we air it Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock, Gary's here to talk about this and maybe some other insights that maybe he could shed and maybe some deals about how we could maybe prevent this from happening at our home. Gary, good morning. It's Burt Barron, WCTC, and thanks so much for taking the time this morning.
You're quite welcome. Good morning, Burt.
And a great weekend show, of course, that you've done with us here for a bunch of years, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But this story here of this home collapse that was being blamed on water exposure and seepage. Gary, I've never heard of anything like this before. Based upon what you know about this, how often does this happen, and how real a threat is this?
Well, it's a real threat. There's no question about that. How often it happens to that extent, not so much. But if you're a regular listener to the show, one of the things I've been preaching for all 31 years, Bert, is your number one enemy of your home is water. I was actually repairing a screen-in porch yesterday. It was a one rotted board. We took one rotted board off, and the whole inside of that little hip wall was totally rotten. The 2x4s were like sawdust. So constant exposure to water is going to do damage. It's kind of the cancer of the house. So when it comes to a foundation, you start with little trivial things like clogged gutters at your house. And, you have a thunder shower, a big heavy rain. If the gutters are clogged, that water spills over the gutters. It falls on the foundation. Where's that water going? It's going straight down in the ground. If you don't have good drainage around your house, it gets under the footers. And you go 20, 30, 50, 100 years of that stuff, it's kind of like standing on the beach, and when the waves come in, we've all experienced this, the waves come in, you know how your feet just kind of keep sinking in the sand? That's kind of what happens if you don't have good water control around your foundation. There's all kinds. There's stacked stone foundations, poured foundations, block foundations, but they all have the footers that are kind of holding that foundation up. And once they become compromised and it starts settling, I guess long-term, without anybody doing anything, you can run into the problem we had.
Typically, how far below the ground, Gary, are these footers that you're talking about? Does it kind of differ by the tile of home or maybe the region of the country where the home was built?
Yeah, both. But, if you have a basement, so you're, let's say, 8-foot ceilings, you're 6 feet down in the ground, and then 2 feet below that would be your footer. So, it varies, of course, across the country, the types of soil and everything. With a basement, that's where it would be. And there's drainage systems around our home, but then we also have the water table issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I always give the example of Venice, Italy, St. Mark's Square. I've been there. You watch the water rises up through the concrete once or twice a day and then goes back down because the water table is higher than St. Mark's Square. The same thing can be going on with the basement in your house. If your water table is to the floor and above the footer, and that water rises and it goes down, and it goes up, then it goes down, and you're adding water from spilling over the roof and out of the gutters and everything, you're starting to get the message here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That house just is going to start settling and could potentially cause problems. Really, when you think about it that way, you wonder why it doesn't happen more often, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm thinking maybe, areas maybe the Pacific Northwest where it's kind of known to having a lot of rain. Here in the Northeast where we are, which has been just We had an incredible month of March with heavy storms and snow, and it seems like we get these torrential downpours here becoming more and more prevalent. I'm guessing not so much, the desert Southwest and some other areas of the country, but obviously more likely to have it happen in areas where you're exposed to more rain over the course of a year, right?
Absolutely true. And, one of the things I preach all the time, and I actually stole this phrase from a fella in New Jersey. It's called the killer G's: gutters, grading, and groundwater. Those are the things you got to control around your foundation. You always got to have gutters that are clean and free-flowing. Otherwise, the whole expanse of the roof, all the rainwater that falls on that is directed to the gutter, down the downspout, and away from the house. If the gutters are clogged, it's spilling all that additional water over the whole span of the house right onto the foundation. So killer G number one, gutter. Grading, the grading should always slope away from the house. Over time, it begins to settle. We start planting bushes. We start getting a tilt of the land towards the house. Then you get basically create a ravine where it's bringing all that water right to the house. So grading is really important. And the last thing is groundwater. If you see puddles, little ponds forming around your house, that's a problem. You've got to fill those low spots in, maybe even think about an underground French drain pulling that water away from the foundation. So the killer G's. Remember those. Those are really important in the maintenance of your home. It's the gutters, the grading, and the groundwater.
So it's kind of an ongoing battle for homeowners in Jersey and really all around around America. Get that water away from the foundation as best you can. You're right.
Absolutely.
Wow.
That is probably, water is your number one enemy, whether it's humidity inside the house. It's going to be a hot weekend. If you get your humidity up around 70%, you'll keep pulling that thermostat down to get comfortable. But if you can balance that humidity to under 50%, you can actually raise the thermostat up. If you get too much humidity, you get condensation, you could get mold in your house. It's the number one enemy, no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's going to be a real hot weekend here in Jersey, that's for sure, Gary. But speaking of the weekend here, your show, At Home with Gary Sullivan, Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. What are you going to be talking about this weekend?
Well, almost exactly what we just talked about, Mark, to be honest with you. I've got a list of different things we can work on reducing the humidity inside our home to make us more comfortable when it's real hot. And simple little things there, too, like the fan in the bathroom. When you shower, that fan's actually supposed to run during the shower and a half hour after it. Evacuate that moisture out of the house. You're probably catching a theme here, aren't you?
A half hour. I turn the thing off as soon as I get out of the shower. I run
across
the room.
I got a tip for you.
I run across the room nice and wet.
You can replace that switch with a humidistat.
Okay.
You never have to worry about it. When the humidity gets above 50%, that fan turns on. When it gets it below 50%, it turns it off. Bert doesn't have to worry anymore.
I need to look into one of those. Gary Sullivan, great to talk to you this morning, and it's so great to have you as part of our weekend lineup here. At least 10 years you've been with us here, Gary. So thank you so much for everything, and have a great weekend. I appreciate the information, all right?
You betcha. Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, Gary Sullivan, my guest.